I think we're live. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Well, hold on. They're still telling me. Okay. YouTube had actually not been as crazy about the mid-roll ads recently. I just noticed that tonight. I said, geez, they're not pestering me about mid-rolls anymore. But they did tell me I should run an ad right now. They're like, if you want to run them manually, now would be a good time. I'm like, oh, would it? I will take it under advisement. Check. Check 1, 2. What's up? Who do we have here? Shammy Whammy, William France, got Trolls, got Panzer, got Deanna. What's up? Hello. And Matt. Trolls, if I didn't say Trolls already. And Matt Dummett. And who do we got? Quentin, who's under Mars. You should. What's up with that? Have a name that is your name. Got Shammy Whammy, Frank C. This is the AI version. Well, this is the live show. The June 8th return is the Guitar of the Week. As you could tell, because June 8th is a Monday. And the live show is Saturday. So it doesn't really affect it. William says it sounds good there. Good. We got the newfangled capo. It's just a new guitar. Nice, huh? I like that color. Tone clamp is working good, you know. We got J Shaft. We got Chris. Got Assad. Hello. Double R guitar. We got Rick. Speaker. What's up, dude? What did YouTube change? Ads are consumed. They might. I have a feeling they're going to take it away from me at some point. They're like, yeah, whatever. We're going to run the ad. They would be telling me, we're in the ad business. I'm like, I know. Yes, I know about the ads. What else we got? We got Kev, GSU Panther, Mike D. Got Rob. What's up, buddy? Fast Eddie. I know, the reverse headstock. I tell you, it's, you know, I don't know why they, but that's what the kids want. Yeah, let's go to color vortex cam. Right there. It's a little shimmery. That's an ash top. Mesmerizing. Oh, so crazy week. The whole Fender, debacle is pretty much become the, Vrabel Rossini of the music world. It's got legs. We'll see. They haven't said anything about it, and they may never. They won't even address it. Right? We go in court. Steve the guitarist, reminiscent of the Jackson Erie Desert Swirl. I remember that guitar. That was like about 20 years ago, right? Maybe even a little longer. Yeah, it's like a satin shimmery, yeah. So the reason I have this guitar is, normally I don't show a new guitar until I've done a Guitar of the Week on it. But they're doing a special right now where they're upgrading from the soft case to the hard shell case. So normally this comes with like a soft case, right? It's like a, it's a bag, but it's got solid sidewalls, right? It's more like a case, but a soft case. And now they're upgrading it to their standard hard case, which is a nice case. It's a standard ABS plastic case. But they're doing it, I think, only through the end of June. So I came home yesterday from out doing a whole bunch of crap, and there was a Vola waiting for me on the front porch. It was this. And they were like, yeah, just mention we're doing the case upgrade. I'm like, how long is that going until? They were like, the end of June. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to this video until June 22nd or 29th at the current rate. So I might have to show it in a live show or make a triumphant return to Instagram. I don't think I've posted on Instagram in like freaking 2 years. So it's like, sure, yeah. What do you think of low-end Schecters? I don't know if, I tried a Sun Valley Super Strat, and that's not super expensive. That's like, $550, $599, something like that. I don't know if I've tried, I had the Schecter Hellraiser. That might have actually been a little bit less money, but I'd have to check on that. They were both great. What else did I try? Yeah, we did the Sun Valley Super Shred in the, like, almost like a foil red. And that had the Sustaniac, of course. But what are we doing? Of course, yes, of course we're getting the Sustaniac. And, yeah, the other one was the Hellraiser. Because I remember I did a Pinhead, thumbnail for it. Pinhead would be proud. Because it's the Hellraiser. No, nothing. You love the Sun Valley Super Shred. It's a great guitar. So I haven't played, a lot of Schecter models, but the ones I have played have all been great. Yeah, a C1 Hellraiser. I think that was the guitar. The C1 Hellraiser. Yeah. Yeah, this is the pre-lawsuit Vola. Just a matter of time. Yeah, what a debacle. So, it was let's just say it was a busy week. Where do I even start? Let's start last night. I just wanted to make a pot of coffee. We were out of coffee. It wasn't that late. It was like 6:37 p.m. And I said, you know what? I think I do want to make a pot of coffee. We'll just make this up right now. So get up and I walk down and I turn the corner and the whole floor is flooded. And I'm like, where? What? Now, there was a time when I saw that, I would say, oh shit, I'm filling the barrel for the aquarium. I forgot about it because it trickles out so slowly going through the RO, right? It goes through this big filtering system. And I'd forget about it because it takes like literally 12 hours to fill the barrel. And it overflows, right? But we don't have the tank. And the barrel is out in the garage. So, it's not that. I'm looking your way, hot water heater. And sure enough, the water is pouring out of the bottom of my hot water heater. And you might say, hey, Steve, I remember, geez, it didn't seem like that long ago when you had your last hot water heater put in. Well, the hot water heater had a 6-year warranty. It has been 6 years and 6 months since I bought it. My wife feels like there may be some sort of timed explosive. She's like, she was talking about planned obsolescence. And I was like, I know. That is, wow. That is crazy. So the floor is completely flooded. And then I had really cleaned the water up pretty well. And then, it was coming back. And I was like, oh, this tank is full. So I had already shut the water off, so it wasn't under pressure. But it was still dripping out. So I had to do, the whole 5-gallon bucket thing and open up the drain at the bottom of the, every hot water heater has a drain at the bottom. Open the drain up and let it drain out. And I got 8 buckets. That's 40 gallons. It's a 50-gallon tank, so I got like 40 gallons. And then it was trickling so low that I just left one there like overnight, and it filled up about like 10%. And that was the end of that. So I was like, of course, my local Home Depot doesn't have the exact model I need, which is the 50-gallon short. They have the tall, they have the 40-gallon, but they don't have the one. And then they had the right one in the little bit farther away over in West Roxbury. So I took the trailer. I mean, how else was I getting it home? Took the trailer, picked it up, had one of the dudes there help me load it into the back of the trailer. And it made it home just fine. And then I took it off, and I have one of those like little roller dollies that has like basically like a couple of 2x4s nailed. They sell them at Harbor Freight like $10, I'm like that $8 right there. They're super freaking cheap. And it's got 4 little wheels, and it'll like hold 1,000 pounds. So I threw it on that, wheeled it right down the driveway, no problem. And then threw it in the garage, and then I had to clean out over here because there was a whole bunch of crap over there. Clean it all out and prep it, and then I got it off the 4-wheel dolly and put it on my 2-wheel dolly, which that's a nice dolly. It's a hand truck. That's like so much. That's so nice. I'm so glad I spent the money on that when I bought it, like literally 20 years ago. And I threw it on that, and then I have a ratcheting strap that I threw around it because I said this thing is going to go flying off in front of me. I'm going to have a broken friggin'. So I tied it in with the ratcheting strap to the hand truck, and I had to clear the room. It was 99% prep, and I got it in no problem. It went in smooth. I was like, you know what? This is one step at a time. Little one step, and then one step, and then I was in. It was only 1, 2, 3. It's 4 drops. Right. There's one step, and then like sort of a landing area. Then you go through the door, and there's one step, and then you're down on the floor. So I got it in, and I got it right down there. So we'll get the other one out. I have a friend coming by tomorrow, and we're going to, because it sucks to have no hot water. I can't even tell you how bad that sucks. You don't realize how much you rely on it. And he even said, he goes, you're not gonna like it without hot water. He goes, he's actually doing a job. He lives much farther away, but he's actually doing a job not too far from here, maybe 20 minutes from here, instead of a 90-minute drive, like maybe tops 30-minute drive. It saves a lot of freaking time. So you have a tank in the metal tray and outlet to a drain. Oh, right, stays in the pan. That's not a bad idea, but mine's elevated. But that is a good idea. I'd have to, when I took it off, I'd have to put a pan down and then put the cinder blocks in the pan. Right, because it has to be up on cinder blocks because my basement can flood. Oh, home ownership. So my wife went up there. We've been doing a lot of work up at her dad's house. We're going to prep it for sale, sometime this year. And so there's, like anything, there's a lot of prep. And so she went up there to do more prep, get things organized and, get ready to clean it out and take note of everything that needs to be fixed and, do something. Anyway, she brought a change of clothes. She's going to take a shower up there. I'm like, that's pretty smart. Just take a shower right up there. You know. Terry says, especially cold water, hot water in the cold months. Absolutely. So for my coffee cup, which is kind of gross, you know, I always clean it out with a ton of hot water. What I did was I put a little cold water in it and threw it in the microwave for like 2 minutes until it was totally boiling. Then you turn it upside down and shake it, and there's so much pressure from the hot water, it like really pushes it out and really cleans it. It pretty much sanitizes it. It's so friggin' steamy and it's like boiling. So, once again, and my wife even said, and I think the guy from Home Depot was kind of admiring the trailer. He was like, nice. My wife was like, how awesome is this freaking trailer? I'm like, I know, right? And since I've painted it and I switched to all stainless steel, I think that other shit was like zinc. I wonder it friggin' rusted. Because I found some of the old boxes, but now it's all stainless steel and it's gleaming. She's like, it looks good. You know, plus the paint is so much more even. So everything looks good, but what's up with Terry? I think I missed it. Oh, Aunt's funeral. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah. We're actually doing my father-in-law's, we've been prepping for that. His celebration of life is a week from tomorrow at his favorite restaurant. We booked a room. Gonna have about 35 people. A money pit. Be thankful you don't have a swimming pool. I know. No, swimming pool's another thing that just rips through your money. So, what else happened this week? We'll just get the news out of the way. Thursday was my daughter's graduation from college. And one of the honorary degree recipients was Peter Wolf. Who, you know, he didn't speak, but he did a little dance. The Wooba Gooba. Can't wait for your celebration of life. Yeah. Yeah, we should all be so lucky. And that same day, the same day that we had the graduation, which I froze my ass off, I was wearing a sweater, and you know, I have an undershirt and a t-shirt, so I got 3 layers. But it was at the Bank Pavilion there, in the seaport in Boston, and that is right on the water, and that wind off that water was freaking relentless, and man, I was freezing my ass off. Man, I even have this coffee, but I've been moving so much dust today, I swear to God, I have like a bunch of dust at the back of my friggin' nose. Because of all the kitty litter. The goddamn cats. So that same day of my daughter's graduation, my son turned 21. So we went over to right next door there was a restaurant, Legal Seafoods. We went there for the after graduation dinner. And he got himself an espresso martini. And my wife was like, "Is this the first time you're drinking?" He's like, "Oh, sure." We were all laughing. Yeah, finally got rid of your pool there. My uncle did that. They didn't want to manage it anymore, and he filled it in. Second last living intermediate relative, yeah. Yeah, I know it happens. You know, of my mother's, you know, she was one of three sisters. The youngest one, her husband died. I think I think it was a heart attack. And the older one, who's now passed away, her older sister, who's passed away, her husband died years ago, but he was much older than she was. You know, he was a good 10 years older, maybe 15. What's up, Aljon? Good to see you. Oh no, the dust from the cat litter is friggin' everywhere. We have to figure out a way to sort of like encapsulate it a little bit. We moved to an open air one because one of the cats kept pooping on the floor. It's in the basement on concrete, so it's not the worst thing. You know, I mean, if it was upstairs, it'd be a lot worse, but she just won't go she'll right next to it, but not in it. And so we were trying everything, right? We got a really big one. We got, you know, we had they're uncovered now, so she doesn't feel like trapped in there. Like, we're trying anything to get her going there, but she still doesn't. It's maddening. So we have to rethink it. I think we need to build like a little enclosure, so that it's open, that they don't have to go inside the tiny little, you know, what a normal cat thing is, but, you know, litter box cover, which feels a little claustrophobic, but still will contain the dust a little bit better, because damn, the dust down here it's everywhere. It really is bad. And, you know, plus we have hot air, heat and air conditioning, you know, which is all, you know, air based. You know, we don't have baseboard, you know, radiant heat, so it's always blowing the friggin' dust around everywhere. It's pretty bad. I was saying to her, you know, and we after we replace this hot water heater, let's figure out a way to maybe encapsulate this dust a little bit and not have it so. I mean, it is friggin' everywhere. It is brutal. I ran my finger across like a desk in the attic, and all you could smell was that kitty litter and the dust. And I said, "Oh, come on, you know, it's literally everywhere." A picture of my trailer? Sure. Hold on. We'll call it up here on the interwebs. Just real quick, there I am on graduation day. Woo! Having fun. All right. Hold on. One other picture. Now remember, this is art school. You dig? So some people are very, let's just say, artsy. But when I tell you this chick was shivering, absolutely, she went for a look, and damn, I mean, just absolutely shivering. It was so cold. I was freezing, and I was fully clothed. She's, oh my God. I felt bad for her. I was like, ah. But like, you got the fish head, a lot of, it's an art school. A picture of the Wooba Gooba? I don't know. Right there. Peter Wolf. He looks thrilled to be there. Probably freezing his ass off too. It was cold. Oh, let me see. I know I have a recent trailer pick. Right there. Oh, it worked out. Here's another shot there, hot shot. Right there. The old trailer. So, other news of the week, my Wi-Fi 7 gear showed up, my Ubiquiti, and I got that installed, and that has been frickin' awesome. So it seems to me, and I've run some tests. Just there's a new water heater out in the garage. It's downstairs now, but I took it when I got it in the garage. There's that little roller down there. This box was a little dented, but it was still the best box. The other two, one of them was completely ripped open, and the other box had a big break down the side of the box. This was by far the best one, and it was way in the back. I had to pull the other ones out and get to this one in the back, but it seems to be the best one. Hopefully no problems. Bird's eye maple plywood? Sure. Yeah, I do like this. That's nice. That cease and desist, Vola. Yeah, boy, they've got a major that CEO. He's got a major public relations crisis on his hand. They might not think so. They may never respond. They may never come out with anything. I wouldn't doubt it. A lot of corporate, companies, when they had problems with iPhones, iPhone would rarely acknowledge them. That, they don't want to hear it. By the way, this is a mahogany body. And a roasted maple neck. And locking tuners. And it might be stainless steel frets. I'd have to double check. Are they stainless on this? Models. Oz. What is it? Oz. ROA MC. Boop, boop, ba, doo, doo. No, hold on. I'm getting a pop up here. Nickel frets. Medium jumbo nickel. You join the dark side, you have a surf green Vola Oz MC on the way. Nice. Beautiful. Apple did talk about antenna gate. You're holding it wrong. Yeah, they blame the user. You're holding it wrong, bro. Oh, am I? And then quietly changed it. They put brakes in the antenna, so right? So you couldn't ground it out. Gary Davlin, my man. Bro, I'm not going to lie. Kind of missed you. I was a little worried about you. You came up a couple times, man. I was like, listen, people take breaks. It's cool. But I hope Gary's okay, man. So how have you been? And while we're just thinking about people that haven't been here, never forget Sassy Cat. I'm going to bring Sassy Cat up every once in a while. Fender cease and desist is only for the EU, right? Well, I think there's been some news that they did send a cease and desist to at least one American company. So I don't know if it's just limited to the EU. Or maybe they're saying don't sell to the EU. Because if you're selling in that jurisdiction, then you're going against their default judgment, which basically is it's a participation trophy. You're in an adversarial process and there's no adversary. Now, their courts are different. They still have to prove their case, but it's a very different case when you don't have people making an argument against it. Right? Then it's much easier to convince a board that what you're doing is the right course of action. So, we'll see where it goes, but it feels like there is okay. Forget intellectual property law. It's brain ideas. Let's talk about land. Let's talk about real estate, like real property. Okay? And you have a big parcel of land, and your neighbor has a big parcel of land. And you put a fence up. And you accidentally put the fence 10 feet into your neighbor's land. Right? Because you got two big parcels of land. 10 feet is a tiny fraction of the line. And it goes back 200 feet. So that's 2,000 square feet of land, of real estate. with title, right? And you do that, and that fence stays there for 20 years, and then like 22 years later, the guy realizes it, didn't even know about it, and says, oh shit, your fence is like 10 feet into my yard. We had it surveyed. And that fence has been on my land. Who owns that strip now? Who owns the 2,000 square feet? The guy who made the mistake. Because the other guy sat around for 20 plus years. And you only have so many years. And as long as he could have at any time gone there and seen the fence and figured it out, he didn't in 20 years. And so by the other guy openly, notoriously, right, with hostility, in other words, that guy, you don't come onto my land. But it isn't his land. The first 10 feet are his neighbor's. He's made a mistake. He put the fence 10 feet into his neighbor's yard, and it goes back 200 feet. 2,000 feet. And yet, he could go to court, and it would almost, in most courts, he would be found to own the property now because the other guy sat on his rights. You literally can lose land by sitting on your rights for an extended period of time. So when you look at the Fender, case, and you say, sure, but I literally came across a video recently of the old music store I used to work at, a local like cable station, right? The town cable went in, and people had their own shows, and they went into all the local businesses, and one of them was the old music store I used to work at. And the dude pulls a Hondo Eddie Van Halen stripe. It's black and white, but the guitar's all black with white stripes instead of white with black stripes. It's a Hondo, and it's a complete goddamn Strat. That's 1986. That's 40 years ago. And I think they were going a good 5 to 10 years before that. Maybe the mid-70s, people started making Strat-looking guitars. And that carried on for decades. Decades. Now, people were like, they should come up with their own design. The people that are copying them, they shouldn't be copying them. Right, but if you sit on your rights for an extended period of time, you lose them. You waive them. That is very, very common in the law. I think rape has a statute of limitations. I mean, come on. There is a limit. And now you could say, well, the copyright lasts for like a number of years. It lasts like 100 years past the owner or whatever. Sure, but you can't let the trespass happen for decades and decades and decades, just like in the real property case. You can't let it go on for decades and decades and decades, and then all of a sudden say, oh, now we're doing it this way. Now I want to shut everybody down. It's too late, right? You've sort of waived your rights because you waited too long. So if there isn't a statute of limitations, then there would be, that's on paper, there would be a common law, sort of like latches, where a reasonable party, a jury, could say, yeah, that was too long. And it's a jury question, right, about whether or long they took too much time, right? So it's just, it's sort of a weird thing that they were able to get a decision like that. But they got it. But other people are saying, well, yeah, but don't read into it too much, because one court's decision in the EU doesn't really affect other courts to a degree. They still do everything on a case-by-case basis. It's not really precedent. They could certainly maybe cite it, but it's not going to be like controlling, right? So who knows how this is all going to turn out? But it just in terms of like publicity, in terms of feelings towards Fender, There's a few Defenders out there, absolutely, but I'd say it's overwhelmingly sort of negative. It's been sort of a negative vibe for them, and the brand is a little toxic right now. And so just from a sheer public relations standpoint, I just think it would be right, you should get a crisis management team in place and, come up with a strategy to maybe quell this. Or not. Some corporations do act like that. They're just like, yeah, we're not addressing it. We're not getting into it. The the lion doesn't worry about the opinions of sheep, right? The eagle doesn't hunt the flea. How much different must the body be for it to not to infringe? Well, it's hard to know because, right, it's really on a case-by-case basis to go to a jury and decide whether it does. And then do you look at the guitar as a whole? In other words, what if it has a completely different headstock? Is that enough of a change that you wouldn't be confused? So trademark is a reasonable likelihood of confusion. They don't have a trademark. This is copyright. And copyright is, basically that you're infringing on their, the design. Not that they made, but that they own it because they bought it as a part of the assets when they acquired FMIC. Right, and I'm talking about Servco here. Right, so they're like, we buy all the liabilities and all the assets. They just got that new CEO. Well, he just stepped on a rake, bro. I would meet up with people and maybe address this, but they may never. They may just be like, no. No. I'm hearing somebody up there. I think your video did well explaining the difference between form and artistic design. The only reason why it was sort of fresh in my head is because they sort of go through that in the Dean lawsuit. But again, that has nothing to do with the EU. Different jurisdictions. We have for federal stuff, it's one system, but a lot of laws are state by state, and so even in the United States, you can get different outcomes in different states. Let alone completely different, areas. Like Germany versus the United States, it's a completely different system. Usually laws are kind of similar, but the devil's in the details on that stuff. On how things, on burdens of proof, on, standards, right? In the United States, for civil matters, it's usually a preponderance of the evidence, which is more probable than not. So where in a criminal, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, is you're running that football down, you got to score a touchdown, nothing less. In a civil matter, you got to hit the 51-yard line, right? Just past 50%. Gary, neighbors started pawing, brushing the corner of our property. They wanted access to the road to its compost pile. Yeah. Well, the other one is, and this happens a lot. I'm learning how to be retired. Took an early retirement at 55. Started my midlife crisis at full. Good for you. Don't let them tell you you're crazy. You're doing it right. Still here, took a break from everything for a bit. Yeah, I hear you. No, yeah, good for you. Understood. Correct, EU court doesn't rule over other countries' laws, but yeah. Well, it certainly seems to have emboldened Fender, Again, it does feel like a bit of a participation trophy, but right, the "you showed up" trophy. Yeah, I heard about that. The blues lawyer brought up the point in a 16-minute video discussing the copyright system. Yeah. These strings are a little thick. I'd go 9s on these. Are 10s, at least 10s. I'd put 9s on this. Yeah, right. For the small builders, that's the process is the punishment, right? So, as a part of my Wi-Fi 7, I had to put a new switch in. I had a switch, but all the new Wi-Fi is 2.5 gigabit. And I've got a lot of stuff that's 2.5 gigabit. And in fact, on a couple of systems, this system here and the one in the attic, I'm going to switch to 5 gigabit, and my server's 5 gigabit. So at least 3 computers will be on 5 gigabit. The switches talk to each other in 10 gigabit. And a lot of my ports are now 2.5 gigabit. And I ordered one, and I got it, and I was like, oh, it's not enough ports. So I returned it. I ordered the one that had fiber optic 10 gigabit and, 8 of them, 8 2.5 gigabit ports. So I get it. And I look at it, and I said, this looks like it's been completely opened. And I open it up, and inside, it's an old, shitty Netgear, like 10100 switch. I took pictures in case they gave me shit and said, yeah, this looks like someone's used return. And returned it, got a refund, and then I got the replacement the next day. And it was fine. And it was nice. I was able to plug the fiber optic in and get an extra, 10 gigabit port out of my... I found out my switches are Netgear. I knew it would be Netgear. I tend to use Netgear. But my new switch is like, friggin' Goikwan. It's like, who knows what friggin'... They can't really get... A lot of the... networking has really gone to completely independent, Asian makers, and not so much like Netgear and TrendNet and TP-Link and, all the brand. I remember a whole bunch of brands, and I still see Netgear, but, it's a lot of no-name brands out there now. Moving to China to make AI music. So there was this song called Puerto Rico that was all over the sports radio. And as soon as I heard it, I said, that's Suno. I recognize the singer, right? Because they only have so many vocal styles. They're not all that different. Might be a little unique, but not really. And there's some sort of things that Suno likes to do. As soon as I heard it, I said, it sounds like Suno to me. And they got the guy on the phone. And they're like, so is that like AI? He's like, oh, I use this app, and you can sing into it, and you can upload music and do all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but did you do that? It's like, I feel like you just pulled the arm of the slot machine until you got a song, right? Kept spinning the wheels until you got a song you liked. And you probably have promoted hundreds of songs, but one just caught on. But I suspect when he was giving the interview, it sounds like he has absolutely no musical background. He's like a comedian who's like goes on these tiny little club tours, and it sounded like it was 100%. Because the lyrics are kind of clever, and I was like, they mention a whole bunch of places in Puerto Rico, and I said, oh, this is absolutely AI. Write me a song about Puerto Rico. Well, they know they use like large language models to pull that data out. I said, write me a song about Boston once when I first got Suno. And it pulled out all these major landmarks, major streets. It like pulled all that data, right? They can look into like fun facts about Boston. You know, Freedom Trail and like, you know what I'm saying? It's like like Boston Common, Newbury Street, it like the Faneuil Hall, the State House, right? It's like the old State House, I think they mentioned. So it's like that data is out there, and it felt a little data mined. Yeah, just move your company to China. There you go. Exactly, jackpot. So yeah, you keep. And I'll say this, and out of probably about 1,000 songs I've written on Suno, about 150 were worth keeping. I started to go through and look at them. I got about 150 songs that were worth, sticking around. A lot of them. But here's another thing, though. Songs grow on you. At first you hear it, you're like, meh. Then you hear it a few times, and songs absolutely grow on you. Or maybe you found one that you kind of liked at first, and then the more you listen to it, the more it like really grows on you. Like, you know what? This song is pretty damn good. Like songs like Pickle Jar. Exactly. Quincy Market. So we'll see what happens with Fender. I suspect nothing. If I had to guess, I'd say they don't really ever address it, but you never know. I mean, what are they going to say? We were wrong? Unlikely. So we'll see. Did the bug spraying this week? Oh my God. Laying down the law. We had some hot days. We had a couple of days that were in the 90s. In fact, we broke some heat records around here on one of those days. Was it Tuesday? We were breaking records, and then Wednesday wasn't quite as hot. And then we were cool. We've been freaking cool. Nice low dew points. I've been freaking loving it. But not everybody likes it like this. They want it like it was the other day. Freaking steamy, hot, and humid. Pickle Jar will get an Emmy this year. Exactly right. Grammy. See if you got me on Baby Metals, Give Me Chocolate at Crew. I'm yeah. And that's a great, they tend to have a similar hook in their writing style. Baby Metal will do like a minor, a dark, intro and verse. But then when they switch to the chorus, it's all major and uplifting, right? Major key. And then their other really great one was Karate, right? Karate. I know I got the freaking cold shower blues. It's based on a true story. Yeah, exactly. The water heater song. I'm as broke as my water heater. Right, if they push the issue, they may have more to lose. Yeah, we'll see. I think if they had a noticeable drop in sales, it might, right, it might make a, make a change in policy. But you never know. Right, you're dealing with corporate suits. These people are fucking robots. Bleep blorp. My AI tells me we should pursue this path. So you didn't even come up with this? I trust the AI. Actually, my wife cranks through. Like she was saying, she uses AI like every day. Because she's like, I would have some data I need to pull out of like a website, and it's like 30,000 pages, right? And I've got to do all these things to, right? For a person to do it, it would take weeks, maybe even longer, months, because it's like literally 30,000 pages that they have to go through, and they have to like pull out this data and categorize it and pull all these things out. And she goes, I used to have to go to the developers, right? Because in her work, they have a whole development team. And the developers would write a script, right, to do all that automatically. But they would have to write it, and do all that. She goes, now I can just tell AI, go do this, and it just does it. And then I can say, show me the data this way, and it just does it. And she's been using it in Excel, because there's AI built in through Copilot in Excel, and she's like, it's been like a game changer. She's like, I can get done in like an hour what used to take weeks. She's like, it's unbelievable. I go, well, you better hope that they don't figure out how to use it. She goes, right now, I'm leveraging it. And I said, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, paralegals. Again, you have to be able to trust the data, but, when you go to a cattle call for a discovery, right, you'd be going through, they need someone to go through and read through discovery, like a shit ton of discovery, and pull out, stuff. Now, that had already begun to get scanned, and they would use OCR, and then they would be able to pull out, like, keywords, and things like that, but you could see that getting a little kooky. There it is. It's got a coil cut. A little coil cut on the... Here, right there. Just kicking that on. Yeah, I can't really fix cars yet now. But I'll bet they'll get better at diagnosing stuff. I mean, already they have massive computer hookups. Right, and there's so many car auto sensors now. Like, sensor goes freaking galore. So, yeah. Did you see what came out this week? I got an email on it. Oh, PRS, right? They come out with a, what is it? It's a baritone Ed Sheeran guitar. I did not see that coming. Really? Ed Sheeran, baritone. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm at the website. Cosmic Splash. Oh yeah, that's got to be it, right? Hollow Body 1 Piezo Baritone. That's Ed Sheeran. Anything? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that was it. Oh, another one. Oh yeah, extended range. Cosmic Splash Edition. Okay. Who had a guitar like that? Al Di Meola? Kind of like a rainbow top like that? Brian! I hung out with that dude at one of the Germany events. Great player and really super nice guy. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show him here. I'm going to show it here. Kaleidoscope. Orange Tiger Smoke Boist. And pink ombre. Okay. All right. I think I like the Orange Tiger Smoke Burst. Mm-hmm. Right. So magnetic pickup volume, piezo volume, and then the tone knob. Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. So are the two output jacks? One for both the piezo, and then the piezo volume is only active when plugged into that. So it's a double output jack. It would make sense. One for magnetic, and then one a combo magnetic, but it also turns on the piezo, which I'm sure needs a battery. They need a preamp. They show it at all? No. Right there. There it is. You know those output jacks are like double output jacks? Steve Yo, dude, great video on the guitars of the year. Yeah, I was surprised that video kind of tanked. YouTube buried it. You never know. There's an old joke that the number of views you get are inversely proportional to the time you put in. That video was a shit ton of work. Like probably 15, maybe 20 hours of work to make that video. Took 3 hours just to compile the list, right? Because you can't remember everything. So I went through the list, compiled the list, and I was off. I clearly was off by one at one point. And then I got that resolved and, got the whole thing printed out and put the video. And then, of course, the friggin' microphone, the battery's dying. This is a fresh battery. But the battery was dying in that. It's getting all distorted. And it's like crackling. It had been crackling lately. I didn't put it together. It was the battery dying. And so I I had to wind up using a really strong gate to be able to get rid of that crackling at the end, or it was just, it was insufferable. And I had spent so much time already. I had already like edited 3/4 of that video before the crackling got really bad. And I couldn't go back. I had already spent like 7 hours editing the video, and I had like 3 hours to go. And I was like, you got to plow forward with this. And then what I wound up doing is going and fixing the audio in Reaper until it was infinitely better than the original. And then closing out, saving everything in Premiere, closing it out, and then just using the same name file and replacing the file with the new one. And then when you start Adobe up again, it just uses that file. But little does it know, I have changed it, right? I've fixed it. So it was as good as I could get it. But that was a shit ton of work. That was a lot of work for that video. And no one cares about all those guitars. People, what's always shocking to me is how many people think I own them. Like, you're showing off all your guitars, bro. Sure. Whatever's pissing you off, sure. I vividly remember most of those guitars. Didn't seem like you had that many guitars. I was a little shocked, too. I was also a little shocked I didn't have all of the footage. If you notice, a few of them I had to use still shots, which luckily I had still photos of them. But I didn't have video. I was like, where the hell did this video, where did I put it? And then I ran out again. I couldn't find it, but I found those videos. I was running out of space. I needed to reclaim some space, and I stuck it up on the server. And I went on there. I said, now, where would you put this? And, of course, the first place I looked, I said, oh, there it is. Appreciate the weekly videos. I'd like to see higher-end guitars, but I guess you stand on this. This latest round is like the most expensive round. I don't think there's a guitar under, certainly not under $1,500, but there might not be a guitar under $2,000. So here's the thing. We have a little dilemma with that. So I think when I did the Fender video, I said I was going to hold off. Maybe I wouldn't promote the Fender video. One of the other videos is a Jackson. One of the other guitars is a Jackson. So that's also under the Fender umbrella. And so here's the problem with skipping 2 guitars. That is unfair to Zounds for them to ship me those guitars, and I don't make videos. Right? So what I'm probably going to do is do the 2 non-FMIC guitars first. Then I might do this one. And then we'll see, in those last 2 weeks, I'll do the Jackson probably next and see if it's quieted down or if we have anything new out of Fender at that time. And then maybe I can do that final Fender video. But definitely one of the guitars is Jackson, and one of the guitar, I forgot it was a Jackson. And the other one is Fender. And they're all like $2,000 and up. I went high end. Well, as high end as the highest end one here was the Les Paul Custom. I saw that speaker. No, I knew they were coming and playing there. I was just like, I've been too busy. I was like, I've seen them so many times, but I saw that Steel Panther was playing out at Patriot Place, yeah. Which is kind of, we saw, I don't think it's really changed much. Have they changed the interior of that place? It's where we saw, whatchamacallit there, Lynch Mob. And I think, you're sharing a table, right? If you get there early, maybe you can get up by the wall. The ones down on the floor, that's a different, it's more money, right? General admission is around the horseshoe, right? If you're on the floor in like one of those booths and stuff, it's like, that's like extra money to buy those. And you have to buy, like, I think the whole table, or you're sitting with other people, and I don't know how they do it. It's not a great venue. I think they wanted it to be like a comedy club or something like that, and it turned into live music, and I don't know. It's not the greatest place, so I don't know. I remember when we went to see Lynch Mob there, you wind up with people sitting next to you at your table. Just because the tables are too big and people don't want to stand. Like that video. Forgot about a few along the way. So did I. I was like, oh, really? Wow, okay. Well, there I am on camera. I clearly did have it. You do forget about some. No, in terms of like looks, I love that friggin' green EVH. The Pelham green. With the cream pickups, the double creams, I thought it looked friggin' amazing. And, there was another one too. The Charvel, I guess that was was it a San Dimas? Or maybe not. I'd have to think about it. That was a good one too. SoCal. Might have been a SoCal. So I had a pick guard. Why don't I promote George Lynch Guitars? Who's he with right now? What brand? Because I can only get what's offered at Zounds. Probably have that list here. Did I write it? Yeah, here's the list. It's right here. It was the second one. They're actually, wow, boy, I'm even on. It was the third one. Charvel Pro Mod in Ferrari red. I like that one. I thought that Fender Ventura 260s Telly was pretty good too. But I think that was that the one that had the crazy fret sprout. You know what also had crazy fret sprout? And I don't think I mentioned it in the video. Was but it was the winter, right? It was in January. It's like total fret sprout season, right? Everything's super, super dry. And we had a particularly cold and low humidity winter this year. And was the EVH SA126, the Wolfgang SIG model there. The guitar played, everything was fine. Definitely had a little fret sprout going on, without a doubt, on that guitar. What's the best Floyd? I just like the sort of modern one, whatever their latest one is. I don't like when the screws go up through the top of the saddles. I like the rear mounted screws for each of the saddles, but I like the screw down. I think the screw down trim arm is better than the nylon washer double bolt, which is the original. It's just easier to adjust. It really is. The only downside with that one is sometimes the cup that it goes into, like the receptacle, that screws in itself, and sometimes that gets loose, which can be annoying, very annoying, but it's pretty rare. And you can put a little like Loctite on there to keep that from happening. But yeah, I sort of like the sort of the modern old style, but not the OG one with the double lock, with the double nut on the underneath the plate and above the plate, and they use a nylon washer. That's the original design, and the screw down is, I think, a little bit better. You can control the friction on the trem arm better, much better. It's easy to work with. Ever feature a Steve Guy's signature? I don't think we ever did a gem. I could see if I could get one. We've done a bunch of Ibanez, though. We've done a couple of AZs. We did a few RGs. And we did they were doing like an RG premium with like a nice Popular brill top. It was like one of their higher end ones. It was nice. You know, it's a beautiful looking guitar. You know, nice. I think we did a Genesis too, right? We did the black Genesis. We've done a few. It's funny, the number one brand, Fender, at 10 guitars, you know, demoed. And then second was Epiphone with 8. And then I think the 3 tied for third were, oh geez, I'd have to, do I have it written down here? I might. Yeah, Ibanez, Vola, and Sterling. All 7 each. EVH, PRS, Kramer, 6 each. Gibson and Schecter, 5 each. Charvel, 4. Jackson, 3. Yamaha, 3. Squier, 3. Dan Electro, 2. ESP, 2. Legator, 2. Michael Kelly, 2. And Donner, 2. And then the rest are one-hit wonders. Wild Audio, Gretsch, Chapman, Strandberg, Ernie Ball, Music Man. Sterling, 7, but Ernie Ball, Music Man, 1. Reverend, Badlands, Any Gig, and BC Rich. And then I think my most views were the Epiphone Goes Full Gibson when they did the Les Paul Custom, the ebony one there, it has the Gibson headstock, right? It just says Epiphone, right? But it is the right shape. I think 84, 85,000, 87,000, something like that views on that. I think that's the number one. I'd get a gem though. I owned a gem. I owned the OG green one back in like 88, 89. ESPs with ESP. Could they cover ESP, but it would have to be ESP LTD. They don't really have a ton of like regular I think ESP isn't even really a brand with just ESP. It's always like E2 or like ESP LTD. ESP is a weird brand, man. If you want to catch some killer playing, I caught this week. Nora Jones does a show where she invites people on, and she had on Mike Campbell, who is in the Heartbreakers, right? Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He was pretty much the primary songwriter for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He wrote like pretty much a lot of those big famous hits. Mike Campbell is quite the songwriter. And he wrote a bunch of stuff for Don Henley. He's written for a lot of people, but He wrote Boys of Summer. Don Henley wrote the lyrics, but he wrote the music. And Tom Petty heard it and said, "Nah, it's not my style. Pass." And so he shopped it around, and they said Henley might be looking for songs. He gave it to Henley. Henley listened to it and said, "Let me see if I can do something with it. I'll let you know." He said, and of course, we didn't have cell phones back then. He goes, and by the time I got back to my house, my phone was ringing, and it was Henley. He goes, "I think I just wrote the best song I've written in like 10 years, which was Boys of Summer." He whipped up the lyrics for it. And then I think he wrote Heart of the Matter. He wrote a bunch of stuff. Anyway, he's on with Norah Jones, and they do a Petty song and they do a Henley song. And goddamn if she isn't just so talented. They both are. They're just so good. And he kind of sounds a little bit like Tom Petty. And but man, they sound so freaking just talent, right? Just pure freaking talent. So yeah, E2, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, Horizon. Yeah. They do a lot of 7 strings. That's the other thing is Jackson's been doing a ton of 7 strings too. Probably Schecter too, right? They're all sort of like getting into that space, the 7 string space. But I'm not crazy about the 7 strings because the neck is so wide. My brain hurts. I'm like, okay. Like, But I know people that they prefer them. You'd rather have a 7 string, but I didn't get. I got one. It didn't work. I'm just not that kind of player. So I went, and the neck is they're just too wide for me. But people love them. I know that we were at an event with Leo from Frog Leap there, and he had a guitar, and he said, "Oh, I also have a 7 string." He said, "Oh, please." He wanted the 7 string, and quite frankly, he did sound much better on that 7 string. He was right at home on it versus the 6 string. Yeah, that too. He wrote Boys of Summer. He's a good writer. Yeah. No, he's got an ear for it, right? He's got a real talent for whipping up the tunes. And so, no, they sound, and of course you hear. She is so talented. She's playing the Wurlitzer, electric piano. And she's so friggin' talented that you can hear her, pick up on the melody, pick up on the vocal line, and, harmonize that along in the electric piano. And I was like, damn, that's good. That's pretty good. Ugh. I have enough trouble with 6 strings. Yes, that was kind of my feeling with it too. It's like I'm barely getting on with 6. If anything, I should be going in the other direction, in the 5 string. Who came out with a 5 string? Was it who's that guy? He's like a friggin' musical genius there. I want to say Colin, but it's not Colin. What's his name? British guy. He's I think he came out with a 5 string. Kind of a little oddball thing. Yeah, right. Works for Keith Richards, right? You got a 7 string Petrucci gets 0 love, yeah. I had the Chapman for the longest time, and I just realized I was never playing it. I sold it a few years ago. Jacob Collier, that's who I'm thinking of. Collier instead of Colin. D'Angelico. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they do have D'Angelico. I can look into that, Nelson. Absolutely. Because it's like, how many Tellys and Strats and Les Pauls and SGs can you play, right? It's like you're trying to mix it up. You're trying to, you got to keep it, fresh. 100 guitars into it. So I can check into D'Angelico, absolutely. Here's the Bud man. He's all tuckered out. He had a big day. Because I was doing so much. What did I get today? 7,500 steps. Not bad. And Buddy was with me. I'd say about 6,000 of those. I'm underfoot. I'm like, will you get out of my goddamn way? God. He's like, no, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's like, I am trying to clean around here. He's like, great, yes, let's do this. Crystal guitars, they sound heavy. Yeah, the travel guitar sounded better than it should have, yeah. Yeah, you never know. I tell you the one that shocked me out of the gate, and again, that was, I think, my first PRS SE, but it was the Silver Sky. I was like, holy shit, this guitar is actually really nice. No, I really like that guitar, and I think I really like the neck profile on it. I think it was a little more narrow than a lot of PRS guitars, right? A little bit more, a little less side to side, and I kind of like that, right? It's easier to grip, get the thumb over. I don't know, I just kind of like the neck profile, and I really like the sound of the pickups too. Very stratty, it had that that sparkle, that kind of quacky sound in positions 2 and 4. It was nice. Again, it could have been just I hadn't played an SC before, and I was like, wow, that's pretty decent. That one was surprisingly good. Again, it's like when you see a movie and everyone tells you the movie sucks, and you go, oh, you know what, that actually wasn't that bad. Right? It's like you're going in with sort of low expectations. You're like, it's a PRSSE. It's, how good is it going to be? And you're going to like, you know what? This thing's pretty damn good. No, she's not. Just seeing if my other cat was over there, but she's gone. You're using a Behringer BX600 bass amp with a full range flat response speaker, and it sounds good with your modulus going into an effects retrain. Yeah, because you know what? I bet that bass amp has a shit ton of headroom, right? It's like it's built to be like super freaking clean. Yeah, I'll bet. Think outside the box, right? I'm thinking of anything else happened this week. Not really. The hot water heater breaking, the graduation, the just like all the things we had to deal with this week. That was enough. So we'll see. I think the first guitar when I come back on June 8th for the Guitar of the Week, that's a brand that I think it will be a first timer. Which we know we kind of running out of, right? You start to cover every brand. It's harder and harder to cover a brand you haven't covered. But it's a new one, new brand. And one that's been requested. People have said, if you can get one of these guitars, I'd love you to check it out. Okay. Let me see what I can do. I got one. The only thing that sucks, though, is I think that guitar and I think one of the other ones. So 2 of the 4 guitars they sent me. I always work off of the, open box returns. Because I think if they sent me a brand new guitar and I turn it into a used guitar, that's a big financial hit. Because now you're going to sell it as an open box. And, you do that 50 times a year. And it's going to be quickly just way too much for them to eat that kind of loss, in value. So I always work off of the open box returns, right? I always work off of scratch and dent, blem, open box, anything like that, off the clearance shelf. Because then I don't have to worry about scratching it or denting it as much, right? Because it's already in the scratch and dent, it's already in the open box, it's already been discounted. And, they don't take as big a hit either because it's already been discounted. Someone's already, discounted it, and I'm just working off of that. But this last order, unfortunately, and they're fine with it, I feel bad about it. 2 of the guitars they were all off of the clearance list. 2 of those guitars sold. So they sent me new ones. And I was like, you should have let me know. I'll go find something else in the clearance rack. It's like, you don't, but they did. They sent me 2 of the guitars are brand new. And, and these are expensive guitars. So I'm just like, don't just let me know. I'll find something else. I'm sure there's something in there you can send me that's out of the clearance. But they didn't. Because the guy was out of the office for 10 days. So he got back in and he just sent out the order. And again, they've never asked me to. They're like, no, we'll send you whatever. And I'm like, yeah, no. The quick end to this program, if I'm turning a brand new guitar into a used guitar, literally 50 times a year, that's not going to work. Or 48 times. I think I do 48 shows a year. But I think mail order companies, I think they have to record the serial number. There was a whole thing where people would sell refurbished electronics as new. And it made its way into Congress, and they wound up passing some law that basically said you can only sell something brand new once, and you have to record the serial number. And then if it comes back, you have to sell it as an open box return. You can't just sell it as new again. And that applies to all goods, right? You only get one shot to sell something as brand new. Unlike every mom and pop where, that's the guitar, no matter how many times it was bought and returned. They're all new, sure. Yeah, I did do it. I did a Strandberg. I did the Bowden, right? Who's tracking that? I think under the law, I think the company has to. The company has to log the serial number and basically say that has been shipped out as a new product. And then when that serial number gets shipped again, right, you can't ship the same serial number twice. And I think what you'd be looking at is most likely some class action lawsuit where you'd be accused of selling refurbished items as new. And then they would subpoena all of your shipments, see whether you've complied with the law to record the serial numbers, see if any of those serial numbers have been sold again as brand new, right? Gonna get down to the heart of the matter. Been wanting to get a full range flat frequency at some point. They're kind of all the rage now because modelers have become so popular, right? You're basically going through, it's just a way to market a keyboard amp, right? That's all it is. PA system. That's also a flat response full range. No one is tracking that. I assure you they do. Big companies have to do something. It would just take a matter of time before there was enough people complaining that it could be investigated. Absolutely. And then there's state laws, right? I think California has something in place. Can an 86 Paces Deluxe HSS require a split mimic a Strat enough not to need one? You know, you might have to swap out the pickups, though. Probably could. You know, but those Kramer pickups aren't like the Stratius pickups out there. They're definitely a little bit more mid. A little more mid-pushed. As a mom and pop? No way. No. Mom and pops sell the same guitar 10 times over. Is it new? Sure. Looks new, right? No. Mom and pops don't. Though it gets a little weird if you're shipping it. But people just walking in the store, you know, just walking in and walking out. And again, it only applies to things that are new. I went to, list something that was still in the full package on Reverb as new, and I got an email telling me, you're not an authorized dealer, you can't list that as new, and you can't just show an unopened box. You have to open it up and show the interior contents of it. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, we're taking down your listing. You're not a dealer. You're like a dude who has one that you never opened, but that's still used. Okay. Guitar does sound good. Looks good too. I like that finish. Shimmery. And like I said, these are, they got that case thing going on where you get a upgrade. Go from the soft case to the hard shell case. How many guitars do I have? Over 50? I don't think over that, but I have a lot. But I don't keep them, so they don't stay here. And I've been trying to get rid of it. They're just in the way, and you just don't need that many guitars, Exactly, regulations, smegulations. Favorite pedals to use? Well, I love a good wah-wah. Do I have the wah-wah here? Can I hit this and get wah-wah? That's the Cry Maybe, which I think they mean a Cry Baby. Is the phaser in here? No. One of these? No. No. What did that turn on? It feels like it turned on a doubler, didn't it? Oh, let me go here. Did that turn the doubler on? What did it turn on? Yeah, nothing in the straight path. Doubler. Ah, the octave pedal. Yeah. What? You hearing that cry? And what else do we have? And then more like a was it this color? The other one? Flanger. Playing the octave. Hold on. Oh, where is it? Oh, yeah, right there. Oh, jeez. And then like that. And then like this. Yeah. Right there. I mean, I don't want to say it's supposed to be a Boss pedal, but you be the judge. I don't want to say it's an MXR. I don't want to say it's Boss. Definitely Boss. Cry maybe. Okay. Yeah, and then what the hell am I hearing? Where is that coming from? That's weird. It almost feels like I might have triggered, oh yeah, am I triggering the... That feels like a, what the hell's running? Oh, you know what? I think it... Am I doing the looper? Yeah. I think I triggered the looper with the foot pedal. And it's been recording it this whole time. Yeah. That was it. It was the looper. I was like, that just sounds like what I just played. Yeah, here we go. Just clear that. How do I get rid of this again? Where the hell is the looper? Right there. I was like, what the hell is that? When I hit the foot pedal, I must have hit looper start. It must be assigned to one of the looper tracks when I was kicking the foot pedal down there. Where the hell is that coming from? It's coming from in the house. Is the Brit 87 in my SFB patch? It is not. And I'll tell you why. Because you need to have bought the chop tones to be able to play it. And people were complaining that they would go, when I open up your patch, it says I am missing the component necessary to run it. It's like, okay, well then I won't make any patch that doesn't come with the stock items. In other words, I don't use anything where you have to buy something else. and you would have to buy the chop tones like Brit 87 to get that. You have to spend money, so I don't include it. Is a compression pedal a must-have for 80 shred? Nah, if you have the right amp and either distortion pedal or overdrive combo, that should give you enough compression. I tend to use compression only really with clean sounds, but there is a highly processed sort of like, in fact, quite frankly, very mid-pushed sort of like, almost like what Boston was doing. That is a good sound, you know, so you could experiment with it and see if you like it. But I don't think you absolutely need it, because there's no lack of, you're getting you're getting compression already. It's definitely compressed, Fender bad, trailer good. That pretty much is the whole summary. That and busted water heater. And Wi-Fi 7 is awesome. There's all the bullet points. Exactly. Plus tone clamps. Don't forget your tone clamps. Have a good one, speaker. We'll talk soon. Actually, now that the weather's getting better, I got to get you up on that ladder and mount that friggin' camera. It's like, I'm missing. I got one point of view that doesn't really work. Got to get you. I'm not going up there. So somebody's got to go up there. Exactly. No Wi-Fi 7 on the water heater. Have a good one, speaker. Yeah, we're just hitting 9 o'clock here, so I think we're going to call it a night. No, you rock. No video on Monday, but I will be back next Saturday. Do the live show again. I can tell you all about my new water heater. Oh, the small joys in life. Yeah, I don't think I have really any videos coming out this week. It's a pretty quiet week. I'm really trying to do the next 2 weeks off because we have just so much going on. But there you have it. I will see you in a week. You guys all have a wonderful week. And we'll catch up again next week. And there you have it. And Gary, good to see you again, buddy. We missed you. So I missed you. I can't speak for anyone else, but I missed you. I think I can speak for everyone and say we missed you. So good to see you back again, buddy. All right. Thanks on the water heater install. It should be short work. The only thing I worry about is we have gotten water heaters from them in the past, and they were damaged when we took them out of the box because someone smacked them around a little bit, and we found stuff that was damaged. But I don't think this one. It feels pretty good. I got to cross it fingers. I got a good feeling about this one. All right. You guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week. Have a great week. And there you go. And I'm out of here. Later.